千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. I would like to invite you to center your thoughts and direct your attention to this moment in time, to the here and now, to be fully present and mindfully aware as we all ready ourselves for the sacred process in the Tao with one another. It's one of my favorite stories of all time, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to share with everybody. It is called The Rescuer. Once upon a time, in ancient China, there was a young scholar named Lu. He had done well in the civil service exam, which everybody needed to take in order to work for the imperial government. He became a junior official in his hometown. He worked hard in that position. He gained a modest reputation as a good administrator. One day, Lu received summons from the imperial minister, one of the highest ranking officials in ancient China. Such an order could not be ignored. It was important. So he packed his bags. He made arrangements to cover his absence, and he embarked for the capital. It was a long trip, but Lu made it in time. He arrived on the day specified. He proceeded directly to the government palace, the imperial palace. There, he was face to face with the minister's clerk. He presented the documents he had received. He said, "Good morning, sir. I am here as per His Excellency's orders, as you can see." The clerk looked at the papers and said, "Yes, we are expecting you. Please follow me to the waiting area." "One quick question," Lu said. "It's a great honor for me to go before the minister, but his order did not specify the reason. Can you perhaps shed some light as to why His Excellency will wish to see me?" "Certainly," the clerk said. "You are one of the people recommended for the position of assistant minister, which recently became available." Lu was surprised. Working for such a powerful official, someone who reported directly to the emperor, it made him dizzy to report to a person who reports to the emperor. It seemed like an impossible dream. He stammered, "This is truly an amazing opportunity." "Indeed," the clerk agreed. "You are very fortunate to be summoned. However, there are many candidates like yourself, all competing for the same position. So your chances are probably not that great." "That is as it should be," Lu said in all humility. He said, "It is already an honor to be among the candidates. My colleagues back home would be very envious. He went into the waiting area. He saw many other candidates already present. They were all like him, junior officials. Most of them he recognized by reputation. So Lu compared his own qualifications against theirs. And he quickly realized that he was not the best. Some of them were academic prodigies who had done much better, scored much higher in the civil service exam than he did. So he thought, well, the clerk was probably right. After a while of waiting, it was his turn to see the minister. So the clerk took him to a spacious office where the minister and several officials were hard at work. The minister was presiding over the activities and reading a scroll. He looked up from reading the scroll when the clerk announced Lu. Suddenly, there was an expression of disbelief on the minister. The minister said, "You? Can it be? Is it really you?" He seemed overcome with emotions. Lu was confused by this. The minister came forward to clasp his hand. The minister said, "Do you know the trouble I have gone through looking for you? I have been searching for months." Lu managed to find his voice. Sir, I think you may have mistaken me for someone else." "Nonsense." The minister laughed, and he turned to the others. "Everyone, this is my daughter's rescuer. He saved her from drowning last year." And then he turned to Lu. "Surely you remember, at the lake, during the spring festival, I was so worried about my daughter, I did not even ask for your name. By the time it occurred to me to thank you, you had already departed. I owe you more than I can ever repay." Lu hastily said, "Sir, Your Excellency, please, you owe me absolutely nothing. I have never met you in person until this moment." The minister seemed to take offense at this. "What are you saying? Are you saying my memory is faulty?" He turned to one of the officials next to him. You were there that day, and you also witnessed the rescue. Look carefully at this young man now and tell me, have I made a mistake in recognizing him?" "No, Your Excellency," the official answered. "I also recognized him as soon as he walked in. Your mind and memory are as clear as ever. There can be no doubt. He is the one." So again, Lu responded hastily. I dare not question or contradict your words, sir. Yet I must continue to insist that the minister interrupted him, cut him off. Please. I know you're being modest. I know you must be a follower of the Tao, and that is why you refuse to take credit for the good you have done. I understand. Let us simply acknowledge the past, and we will say no more about it. Agreed? So many thoughts flashed through Lu's mind in that moment. This was an incredible stroke of luck. Having this advantage of being identified as the rescuer meant he could easily bypass the whole selection process. It didn't matter that the other candidates scored much higher, had better qualifications than him. None of it mattered. All Lu had to do was to agree, nod his head. and the opportunity of being the assistant minister will be as good as his. It would be so easy, but Lu could not bring himself to do it. He took a deep breath, and then he shook his head. I am truly sorry, Your Excellency. This must be a coincidence of astonishing magnitude. I regret. I am not the one who saved your daughter. The only thing I can do is to wish that you find the real rescuer soon. I am truly sorry to disappoint you. The minister seemed deflated. Well, it's hard to believe. I mean, the physical resemblance is absolutely uncanny. I suppose such a coincidence, although unlikely, is always possible. So he paused and then collected his thoughts. Let us bring our discussion back to the matter at hand and talk about your background and qualifications. Much later, when the audience was over, the clerk walked Lu to the front door. His Excellency will contact you, the clerk said, but Lu knew that he would not be coming back. He had thrown away his only chance to win the position over the others. He packed up and traveled back to his hometown. He thought that he would just return to his old routine. But there was another surprise. Another summons came to him from the minister. Like the previous one, it had his name on it. Unlike the previous one, it was addressed not to his current position, but to the assistant minister. It could only mean that the position was his. But how? He was not well qualified, and he was not the rescuer. So Lu looked at the documents. He could hardly believe his eyes. It was a transfer order. He was assigned to join the minister's personal staff, effective immediately. The months that followed passed in a blur. Lu moved to the capital to start his new job. The new environment was exciting and challenging, and it took him a while to get settled in, to feel more comfortable with his expanded powers and duties. One day, he ran into the clerk, the one he first met upon his first visit. They exchanged pleasantries, and then a question occurred to Lu. He asked, did His Excellency ever find the man who saved his daughter? Ah, yes, the clerk said with a lot of amusement. The minister found 8 rescuers on that day that you came in for your interview. This was all the more interesting because His Excellency is so devoted to his work that he has never been married and has no children at all, sons or daughters. The end. So that was the story of the rescuer. Let's talk about the Tao. So you can see that this was actually a test. There never was a rescuer. The whole thing was a fabrication designed to test the candidates. And just like that, we know that in life, we all go through tests. Like the test that Lu went through many of these tests are not labeled as tests. And like the tests that he went through, some of the tests that we go through are not testing for academic subjects, not testing for knowledge, how much you have memorized, but a test of character. The test is for what kind of person are you? So this kind of test, the test of character, has multiple levels of difficulty, from the easiest to the most difficult. At the most basic level, it's a temptation. It's a situation where there's some sort of advantage that you can gain. It is a compromise of your values, but if you agree to compromise, you can gain something. It is the easiest level, and it is the level at which the majority of humanity will fail, quite possibly including us. We see some kind of advantage. It's not exactly above board, but maybe nobody will find out. The second level is when life ramps up the pressure, like I really could use that extra paycheck or whatever. That is a really good thing that I can gain. I really need it. Or perhaps nobody will ever know. Or perhaps I can present it to the world as being virtuous. I have to do that because. In the story, we saw the pressure being applied in different ways. First, the minister got external verification, or so it would appear. He had another official agree with him. This amps up the pressure. The more pressure there is, it is similar to life. When we see other people do it, and we say to ourselves, well, everybody's doing it. It's not so bad. They get to do it. Why can't I do it? So that's a second level, a higher level of difficulty where many people fail as well, quite possibly including us. And then finally, at the toughest, at the most difficult level of the test is when you are presented with an alibi or a compelling reason, an excuse, a cover. Like when the minister said, oh, I know you're doing it because you are a student of the Tao. You don't want to take credit. That's okay. Let's just you and I agree that it happened, and then we don't need to talk about this ever again. So at the same time that there's a huge advantage winning the position, there is also a plausible, noble-sounding reason to go with the scheme, to go with this fabrication. That is the test at the most difficult level. In my opinion, there are very few people who can pass the test. But that is why this story is being presented. It is a challenge. The challenge to us. And the same question that Lao Tzu is asking when he says, can you hold to the one? Can you hold to the principle of the Tao without straying from it? So that challenge comes in two parts. Number one, do we really understand the Tao that we claim to follow? Do we know the reason why we should have integrity and character? And do we keep ourselves on the path without straying from the path? So these are questions to contemplate. Not necessarily easy, but these are the true tests of life. Those who are curious to find out more, This story comes from my book, The Tao of Success. As I mentioned, it is one of my personal favorites, and there is more about this story from the book, as well as 24 other stories that are similar. So let's summarize what we have talked about. Today, in Chapter 10, it is all about turning your focus inward. So the 3 parts that we have discussed, number 1, hold the soul, embrace the oneness. As you heard, the oneness, the unity, is synonymous with the Tao. So to embrace oneness is to embrace the Tao, which also implies the principles of the Tao, staying on the path. And we want to be consistent in doing so. And that's the part that says, hey, don't stray away. This is what leads to harmony, the consistency of the practice. Number 2, concentrate your energy and relax. This is all about the flow of the internal energy, the breath, controlling the breath, leveraging the breath to help you to become as soft and supple, as relaxed as an infant. And as we will see next time, this has implications not just in meditation, but also Tao cultivation, as well as living one's life. But moving on for now, number 3 is cleanse the worldly view. This means turning away from the colorful distractions of the material world. This is what will take us back to the purity of our original nature. So there's a lot more to talk about. In the 6 questions, we have completed the 3 that are inwardly directed. We still must talk about the other 3 questions to form the whole set. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.